Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, I'm out in the elements here at Highmark Stadium following the Bills' first open practice of the week, leading into the matchup against the Miami Dolphins this Sunday at Highmark Stadium at 1 p.m. A bit gusty out here. If you hear any wind feedback on the microphone, I do apologize, but wanted to make sure we got the updates to the people. Plenty to be had here from Highmark Stadium as Von Miller returns off the 4-game suspension. Plenty more updates, but we'll start there. Miller was an impact player for the Bills before he went out with his 4-game suspension due to that domestic violence investigation dating back to last November. So he misses 4 games. Before he went out, he was tied for the team lead in sacks with 3, tied for the team lead in QB hits with 4, and he led the team with a 20% pass rush win rate. He was only playing about 30% of the snaps, really only on pass rushing downs, but making quite the impact. And now, with Greg Rousseau having the season that he is, leading the league in pressures during Von Miller's suspension, coming off, I believe, an 11-pressure day against the Tennessee Titans, another good day last week against the Seattle Seahawks. So with Rousseau, with Miller, and then A.J. Epinesa quietly producing, DeJuan Smoot making an impact since he returned from an early season injury, could this be turning into the elite pass rushing group that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have been in search for since they started their time here in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think that, Von Miller obviously brings a lot to the table for what this Bills team wants to do in terms from a pass rushing perspective. He's obviously a very good pass rusher in his career, and he's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. So always adding him back to the fold is a good thing. I think Von, started the year hot. You saw, like you said, 3 sacks in 3 games to start the season. Now then faces the suspension. Now gets to go up against the divisional foe where you can really bury them in terms of that AFC East. You got the Jets going up against Houston on Thursday night, and then Miami obviously taking on Buffalo. So there's room really for Buffalo to take a real commanding lead. I know it's already commanding, but I'm talking like nail in the coffin type lead here through about 9 weeks of the season. So adding Von back into the mix is always a big thing. Like you mentioned, Greg Rousseau has really continued his ability. I don't think he's ever going to be a pure pass rusher and sack getter, but just the havoc he causes on the defensive line in terms of a run stuffer, getting his hands in the air. You saw that to start the game last week. He had 2 batted balls to force a 3-and-out on Geno Smith and the Seahawks. So it really is a complete edge group. Now, again, the big question will be is, can you get to the Patrick Mahomes and the Lamar Jacksons of the world in the big moments? And I'll keep reiterating that throughout the rest of the season, because I said it yesterday. The Ravens make a move for Deontay Johnson, bring him in. I think he's very underrated. The Bills obviously bring in an Amari Cooper. The Chiefs bring in DeAndre Hopkins. The Bills really have no excuses. You could say, there's could be injuries had along the way, but assuming everyone stays healthy, the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, all those teams are the 3 probably leaders right now in the AFC. Houston struggling with the Diggs ACL injury that was announced yesterday, and then obviously Nico Collins still on the IR with that hamstring injury. I think it bodes well for a Buffalo team. Now you get back Von, Rousseau, like you mentioned, again, playing really well. A.J. Epinesa making some splash plays. DeJuan Smoot's versatility all over the place, and I think he works pretty hard. He always plays through the whistle, I suppose, in terms of what he's brought over. So they have a good unit. Again, it's going to be about going up against Lamar and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs and seeing what happens, because that's what's going to matter most in terms of, is this group truly an elite? But on paper right now and what they've shown, I think this is the best they've looked so far under Sean McDermott.
I'm going to push back on you on Greg Rousseau not turning into a pure pass rusher. I think he has done that this year. The numbers speak for themselves. He's a top 5 pressure getter in the NFL. The sack numbers, that's maybe where I'll agree with you. The sack
Pure
numbers
sack
haven't been
getter.
there.
Yeah, that's what I should have said up here. Yeah, pure sack getter. That's what
his pressure ability has really taken a step forward this year. He's winning his one-on-one battles. He's getting penetration into the backfield, impacting quarterbacks on a regular basis, despite not getting those sacks that many Bills fans want him to produce. Before we move off the defensive line, do you think there's room for this team to trade for another defensive tackle, maybe even another edge rusher? I know we talked about it a few episodes ago. The need has maybe increased since Dwayne Carter went down and went on injured reserve. We were kind of lacking in options from our big brains on our last episode, but I've since tuned in to Joe Marino of Locked On Bills. He laid out some options today, perhaps Joseph Day from Tennessee, Eric Armstead of Jacksonville, also mentioned Jadeveon Clowney, someone who can also defend the run in addition to his pass rushing ability. So in my opinion, I mentioned it before, I'm going to stay with it. I think you need another force inside, someone to stuff the run in that A gap and open things up for everybody else. I think that's how you can bring this defense to the next level, particularly the pass rush, and make things difficult on the Patrick Mahomes, on the Lamar Jackson. It's not necessarily the pressure from the outside that helped against those players. It's clogging up the middle and allowing those rushers to come straight up the middle. I almost said something that I didn't want to say, but yeah, coming straight up the middle from the center right into the face of the quarterback. So yeah, I think there's still room for a defensive tackle trade. What is your opinion? Do you have any other options out there since our last conversation?
Yeah, so another name to mention on Cleveland, Dan Graziano and Jeremy Fowler put together an article today over on ESPN, the NFL Week 9 latest buzz, rumors, predictions, all that stuff. And Graziano mentioned that Zadarius Smith is the person that he believes is the most likely to be traded before Tuesday's deadline. A lot of people, I think, believe that after, Myles Garrett really came out and said, I'm not really going anywhere. And I think that kind of narrative or dream kind of died for the Bills. I don't think that's happening. But Zadarius Smith on the other side is, an interesting player, 32 years old. He's probably not in Cleveland's long-term plans. So you can get him on a $1.21 million salary, which is pretty cheap. And then he's owed about $11 million in non-guaranteed money next year. So you can get out of the contract. He'd be a nice short-term edge rusher. He'd be a rental, but a 32-year-old player. I want to say that I think he's also been performing quite well for Cleveland. I think through 8 weeks here. Let me double check. Zadarius Smith, because he's been around the league a while. He's a very savvy veteran. Yeah, he has 5 sacks already this season for Cleveland. So that's a productive guy, a guy that you could bring over and potentially add. Tre'Davious White's another name that people are mentioning as a potential trade candidate. Some Bills fans clamoring about that. I don't think that's in the cards. They have, Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas, Kyrie Elam, Jamarcus Ingram. So I think they're set there. But yeah, in terms of edge rushers, I would say Zadarius Smith, Cooper Kupp. I don't really see being traded now with the Rams back in the thick of it in the NFC West. You have the Mike Williams possibility, but the Bills already have a better version of Mike Williams and Keon Coleman. So I just don't really see any moves for a receiver. It would probably be a safety spot or the edge or interior, like a couple names you mentioned during your previous segment.
So moving on from the defensive line, we'll see what we get from Von Miller this weekend. I'm sure there won't be any ramp-up period. He's been working out vigorously, I'm sure, chomping at the bit to come back and prove himself once again. He mentioned during his comments to the media today that his entire time in Buffalo, it seems like he's been dealing with something, whether it be the injury, the PUP list, the investigation, the suspension. So he's just trying to put all that behind him and help this team. He's happy he's coming back to a 6-2 team going into this Week 9 matchup. Another positive update from practice, Terrel Bernard, who missed this past week's game against the Seattle Seahawks, he returned without the red non-contact jersey that he had been sporting in past weeks. Now, the Bills were not in pads today, so we'll see if he wears that red non-contact jersey tomorrow. But he participated during the media viewing portion of practice, appeared to have his right ankle taped. spoke with the media after practice, which is a good sign that he's going to play this weekend. Just said the only kind of hurdles that are remaining for him to play is just monitoring that injury and making sure he doesn't sustain any setbacks or anything for that matter. On the injury report, he was officially marked as limited, but I think all signs are pointing toward Terrel Bernard being back on the field this weekend against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and look at what the Bills did without him last week. I mean, again, they did a really good job again, albeit against with a Seahawks team without DK Metcalf. But I think again, just adding a guy like Terrel Bernard, he's just such a beneficial player, and he's an upgrade from Bale Inspector in terms of what he can do over the middle and coverage. He hasn't been great in coverage this year, but I think he brings more than a Bale Inspector. And then obviously he flies around the field. He always seems like he's around the ball, knows for the football, fumble recoveries, interceptions, all that kind of stuff. So he's a splash play guy, and bringing him back, getting him back is huge. I think, some were concerned maybe last week with three straight do not practices about what that could have been, but to be limited on Wednesday, and like you mentioned, speaking with the media, I think that's a really good sign that he's going to be able to go on Sunday against a Miami team that's desperate, likes to throw the ball over the middle of the field, and they're going to need their middle linebacker and Terrel Bernard to be there to try and limit that.
Yes, so good update for Terrel Bernard. Amari Cooper, who Sean McDermott said would not practice today with a wrist injury. Instead, he was out on the practice field, albeit in limited fashion. He participated in positional work in front of the media, but took a step back when the quarterbacks came over and started throwing to the receivers. So he was also marked limited on the Bills' official injury report. That's happened a few times with Sean McDermott, where he says a player isn't going to practice and then he ends up out there. It's a positive development. I'm sure there's nothing to be disappointed about, but Bills fans always find a way to get upset with Sean McDermott. But Amari Cooper out there, I think he plays Sunday. The wrist was wrapped up, but him being out there first day of the week, participating in the positional work, I think he's going to be a go come Sunday against the Dolphins.
Yeah, and let's remember, Miami didn't have to prepare for an Amari Cooper type player on the Bills the first matchup. So that also brings a new kind of sprinkle that the Bills can use, Joe Brady can utilize. He's done a great job, I think, the past few weeks since Cooper's arrival to really find that pecking order. You're seeing Matt Collins decrease in snap share and targets, and which is, I think, where he belongs in terms of nice red zone target at times and great special teamer, and that's about it. He was being targeted a bit too much before pre-Amari Cooper, but now you're seeing Amari Cooper being added. It's allowed, every player to kind of fill that role. Khalil Shakir working strictly out of the slot where he's just excelling. Keon Coleman's coming into his own as a player, seeing his snaps continue to increase, and he's working on the outside along with Amari Cooper. So I think this Miami defense is going to have trouble. I think they've struggled this year. I think they'll continue to struggle on Sunday, and a healthy Amari Cooper will always add a element to the Bills offense that they certainly need. So good to see him limited on Wednesday, like a Terrel Bernard, and a wrist injury wrapped, limited. We'll see how he progresses throughout the week, but again, definitely a good sign that he was out there and with the guys today.
If you're watching on Twitter, please shift over to YouTube. We're trying to shift our viewership over to YouTube. I think it's a better viewing experience, and just simply trying to boost our interaction on that channel. You can search the Daily News online YouTube channel, the Batavia Daily News. You can search right here, right now, live Buffalo football talk. Head on over to YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscription, share it with your friends, give us a comment, do whatever you can to help us grow this brand. It's been a good start, but trying to get bigger and better than ever with the postseason fast approaching. And the Bills, it seems they could clinch by week 11. I think that's been the earliest that an NFL team has ever clinched a divisional title, and it seems like the Bills are well on their way to doing so, particularly if they can take care of business against the Dolphins this week. So next item of business, Curtis Samuel. He also returned to practice today. Pectoral injury, missed this past week, but he was on the field in uniform and helmet, on track to play. Interested to see where he fits with Amari Cooper now, though, however. Samuel was a player you brought in, maybe not for Amari Cooper's role, but he was a player you brought in to help supplement this offense, and it just really didn't work out at all. I'm interested to see if he does play on Sunday, what his snap count is, and if they make him inactive.
Yeah, I will be interested too to see, like, is it strictly going to be like, it's crazy to say this because I never thought this would be the case with him. I thought he was going to be like going into the season, even during training camp, I thought he was doing well. And I thought he was going to be 2 or 3 on that pecking order, right, with Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, all those guys. And now it just feels like, will he just be strictly a gadget guy now that Amari Cooper's brought in? Because you feel like Keon Coleman's already proven enough on the outside. Clearly, Shakir is clearly your number 1 slot guy. And like you mentioned, I'm very interested to see where Curtis Samuel fits into all that and where Joe Brady wants to utilize him. Again, he's not been that good. I guess the lack of opportunity, I should say, is also going up against him. I don't feel like he's gotten many targets. And when he has been targeted, it's been close to the line of scrimmage. I don't know what his furthest. I know there was one like really deep ball. I think it goes against Houston where he got down the field in some space. But other than that, it has been really a nothing burger for Curtis Samuel. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him back into the lineup and seeing what they do. Will he strictly be a gadget guy? Because if he's strictly a gadget guy, I mean, it's clear. I guess you can say it already that the Bills overpaid for a Curtis Samuel in free agency. But I mean, can you get a McCole Hardman type role and like scheme him open and like a big moment, right? Like teams aren't going to expect it. Can you get that out of a Curtis Samuel and trust him to execute the play call and Josh Allen to get the ball to him? So there's a lot of questions still regarding Curtis Samuel. What's his role going to be with this new look offense with Amari Cooper? And I'm hoping that they can at least scheme him up in big spots to get the ball, because again, he's electric. He's fast. He's elusive. He's physical. He runs hard. So I'm interested to see where he really shapes up in this wide receiver.
And you may have seen a preview of what Curtis Samuel's role is to become this past week with his absence. They bring in Jalen Virgil off the practice squad, and they really used him as a motion man to identify that man zone coverage. And I think they had success in the packages that they used him on the field. There were some numbers posted to Twitter. I didn't mark them down, but I know that when they were using Virgil in that motion man role, they had some success on offense. So, like you said, perhaps Samuel relegated to a gadget role moving forward, particularly with the ascension of Keon Coleman, Kincaid starting to get more involved, Khalil Shakir remaining that wide receiver 1 type player, and then Amari Cooper doing what he can to get involved as well. A few other injury updates. Also not in the red non-contact jersey. I may have already mentioned this. Taron Johnson, Matt Collins, Dalton Kincaid, all clear from that red jersey, at least for today. Like I said, the Bills not in pads, so interested to see if any of those players put the non-contact jersey back on Thursday. But Taron Johnson seems to be moving further and further toward full health from that forearm injury. Matt Collins nursing a shoulder. He seems to be getting better, and Dalton Kincaid with that collarbone also seems to be improving. Did you see anything else out there in terms of reports from practice? Anything else you want to discuss before we move on to maybe some other things, including Sean McDermott's comments on a potential Matt Milano return?
No, I think that's really it. Again, I think it's going to come down to this Bills team staying healthy at the end of the day, right? These key plate pieces, you really hit the injury bug early. You lose Von Miller for 4 weeks. You lose Taron Johnson early in the season. Oliver's missed a couple of weeks. There's been a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that, you feel like they're now overcoming in a sense. Bernard's missed time as well. So I think it's about this Bills defense getting healthy, getting back to full form 100%. And, it's better now that they're starting to get really healthy, and it's almost November, nearly November here, Halloween tomorrow. So I think that's a really good thing, and hopefully they can stay that way, because that'll be crucial down the stretch.
McDermott said that he's dressing up as me for Halloween. I'm not sure if that will actually materialize tomorrow. My bet is no. What are you dressing up for as Halloween? Any plans for you in terms of dress up? Are you a dress up guy? Do you have any past costumes that you've been very proud of?
I'm not the biggest Halloween guy. Like, my family comes over and we hand out candy because we live in a village. So like we get trick-or-treaters, which is nice. So that's kind of what I do it for. I just kind of hand out candy. I'll walk around and kind of look at kids' costumes now, but there's nothing really. I wore some scary stuff when I was younger.
Well,
but
that was going to be my next question. I'm a big Halloween movie guy. I don't like watching horror throughout the year, but during the Halloween season, something within me gets that itch to watch Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, this, that, and the other thing. What's your favorite Halloween-based horror franchise?
Definitely Scream is mine. I think it's, I don't remember all the names. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but I've watched it a lot of times, and it's a scary movie. It's good. Very definitely like a thriller type. Very what's the word? Like jumpy, but also very like a lot of blood. Like what's the word? You know what I'm trying to say? Yes. So it's just very like that a lot. So yeah, that would probably be my go-to movie. I think that's the one I really like. I'm also a big Christmas movie guy, so that's coming up soon as well.
Let's tone it down on the Christmas, okay? A little too early for that. I'm a Halloween guy. Something about Mike Myers. The first Halloween, made in 1978, it ends with Mike Myers getting shot in the head, I think, multiple times. And here we are 46 years later, and he's still out there lurking, harassing Jamie Lee Curtis. Give me Mike Myers, line him up at tight end, and I think he gives you 100 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 15 touchdowns for a 15-year career.
He probably wouldn't.
Guy's indestructible.
Yeah, he'd probably never get a concussion. He probably wouldn't even wear a helmet. Just put him out there, put some
right.
Nothing even on it. You just go out there and ball out. So yeah.
Mike Myers, my top Halloween guy. But let's thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics in Dansville. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. All right, AJ, we mentioned the many injury updates from today's practice field. One that didn't come from the field came from the horse's mouth, as they say. Sean McDermott discussed the potential return of Matt Milano this season, saying there is a possibility he returns, but that there's no timetable for said return. He did say that he feels Milano is moving in the right direction. He's been around the team, been there for game days, but the team never committed to his return. A lot of the people on Twitter were surprised at McDermott's comments saying that there's a chance he'll return. That was more of the Twitterverse that said that he was going to return in late November, early December. Some of the Twitter doctors out there maybe just giving their prognosis. Bills never commit to things on that. They usually like to take it slow, not provide a timetable. Certainly going to do that with a player as critical as Matt Milano. But I think there's a chance that he comes back late November, early December, like a lot of people think. This team just never likes to commit to anything with injuries. I think it was a positive update today from Sean McDermott saying that everything is headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think coming from Sean McDermott's mouth, like it depends on the person, right? But like you mentioned, with how Sean McDermott and this organization functions, I think that's a really good sign for his. At least he's going to return at some point before this regular season ends. I really do believe that. I think he's a much needed player, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sean McDermott the next 4 weeks he's asked about it, saying it's going right, it's going good.
Right, he'll say the same thing.
Right, and then all of a sudden he's activated from his 21-day practice window or something, and then Bills fans go erratic. So again, I think Matt Milano is always important for what they want to do. I thought Dorian Williams has learned a lot at his position. Right, he's asked to do so much at that position, but getting a Matt Milano back is just huge. He's a fan favorite. The guy's just he doesn't really. It's funny because he's a fan favorite, but he's very doesn't really speak with the media. And he's pretty close to the vest. But Bills fans love him, and he's laid the boom on a couple of guys. He's had so many big plays in his career. So getting him back on that field will be vital for this Bills defense and hopes of their playoff push.
Yeah, Dorian Williams, his worst game of the season this past week. I've been harping on it all season. There's just not enough there in terms of consistency to rely on him. There was a lot of talk in whether or not Milano would come back and play 100% of the snaps with the way that Williams was performing, but there's no doubt. Milano comes back. He's one of your best players on defense. He's your most experienced player on defense. I think I also heard Joe Marino talking about this earlier. There's no doubt that he's going to come back and play 100% of the snaps. I was honestly more impressed with Balin Spector's performance this past week against the Seahawks, I think he fared relatively well. There's always going to be those plays where he's lost in coverage, but did well against the running game, and he did combine for that one pass breakup with Cam Lewis. So there's still an opportunity for those 3 linebacker sets down the road. If you face the Ravens come playoff time, you're looking to stop Derrick Henry. But Matt Milano's presence within this defense, like you said, invaluable. They really, really need him back. And they need Terrel Bernard to stay healthy. It's starting to border on whether or not this player is injury prone. You hate to put that label on a player, and I certainly am not going to do that yet. But for a young player like him, undersized at the position, looking for a second contract in this league down the road, he's got to find a way to stay on the field moving forward in order to maintain his value on this defense. But moving forward, let's talk about other things, AJ. Thoughts on the Ravens move for Deontay Johnson? How much better does that make them? That was a player that was rumored to the Bills, somebody who Bills fans wanted Brandon Beane to take a look at. This trade deadline is becoming like the NBA, the NHL. It's really becoming like the wild, wild west, which is a lot of fun for NFL fans. But I think Johnson's a good player. They were looking for a wide receiver 2 out there in Baltimore. I don't think he's going to move the needle as much as he would maybe if he went to the Chiefs, a more high-powered passing game, maybe not so far this year. But with the Ravens running the ball the way that they do, I'm not sure how many opportunities there will be for Deontay Johnson, but certainly a player who improves their roster.
Yeah, I just like the move a lot because it was a pick swap, right? They gave up a 5th and got back a 6th for a guy that I think is really talented. I think Deontay Johnson, out of all the receiver trades, sorry, Bills fans that are listening, but the Ravens trade for Deontay Johnson, for me, I think in terms of what they gave up and what his impact will be, I think it's just an overall great move for Baltimore. I think that, again, that puts them right at the top of the AFC where they've continued to stay, and they're right in the cream of the crop with the Bills and Chiefs. So I really like what it does for this, Ravens attack. Now they can put Deontay Johnson on the outside. They can put Rashad Bateman on the other side, and then that allows Zay Flowers to, work in the slot whatever he wants. And Zay Flowers is a freak in the slot. He's one of the best slot receivers right now in the league. He's super, bouncy and electric in there and quick. So he can really do it all. He's a great route runner in that slot. And then you add that to Mark Andrews, who's finding his rhythm now the past few weeks, and Isaiah Likely, and then combine that with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the backfield. That is a scary offense to prepare for each week with Deontay Johnson as a pure route runner, Zay Flowers is a great route runner at that speed, and then a Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson backfield with 2 tight ends that can catch the ball. So I do really like this move for Baltimore, and it does move the needle for me. But that's not saying that, the Bills can't get past them. But I think Deontay Johnson's a really good football player that we will see that throughout the rest of this season with Lamar.
Last thing here from One Bills Drive, Josh Allen was asked about his trip to the Yankees game last night. Did you see Josh Allen at the Yankees game, AJ?
I did. I saw the videos being.
And I know you're rooting for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Like an ass.
Yeah. Because you're for the Yankees, so we got to have some differences on this show.
But Allen said, Mike White, big Yankee fan. Allen treated the quarterback room to the trip. Made it back in time for meetings today. Says he's still a Padres fan, but he roots for anyone who plays against the Dodgers, which I can totally relate to. Whoever is playing against the Mets, I'm rooting for. So me and him are in lockstep with that. He says he hopes the Yankees can claw their way back. Looked like he was in a suite at the game. Did you see the Yankees fan trying to break Mookie Betts' arm along the right field line?
I did not, but I've read all about it. I saw they're trying to get him suspended and all that. I've yet to see the video, but it seems obviously a pretty serious situation. They're trying to get these dudes banned from the stadium. So I don't know if you want to explain it. I don't know, because some listeners might not know what exactly happened there.
Yeah, Mookie Betts going for a fly ball down the right field line, hit by the Yankees, trying to make the play, trying to make the catch right near the wall, near the stands. And it was at the part of the stands near the wall where it's low enough that the player can reach in and the fans are kind of right there. It's not high enough where the player has to jump and make an unbelievable grab. So Betts goes up, has the ball in his glove, and this Yankees fan reaches into Mookie Betts' glove and rips the ball out. It takes him like 3 seconds to do so. It wasn't like a quick act. He's like wrenching the ball out of the glove. yanks it out. And during this moment, his buddy next to him is holding on to Betts's throwing hand so he can't prevent his buddy from ripping it out of the glove. So they're double teaming Mookie Betts along the wall, and the umpires come in and call fan interference. The fans were later ejected from the stadium. It was initially reported they would be able to return to the stadium tonight. They are season ticket holders, but MLB stepped in, told the Yankees, yeah, we don't want these guys at the game. So it turns out they are not going to be welcome back tonight. What would be the NFL version of that kind of situation, reaching into the stands, trying to yank the ball out of a mitt? Like,
I mean, I can think of, I'm not from a fan, but I just think of every time, like, I think of like some crazy situation. I think of when the Monday Night Football game when Dan Carpenter went to kick and he just got destroyed before, like the ball wasn't even snapped. The Seahawks guy just came out across the line of scrimmage and
Richard
just attacked him
Sherman
for no reason. Yeah, it's Richard Sherman. Like Carpenter's fake, I thought he was like really hurt. He's like laying there grabbing his leg, like it's the end of the world. And then he like ended up walking off the field. So good acting job by Carpenter, but still, I mean, it was a bang play. But yeah, I don't really know the football.
In that game with Carpenter, the Bills had to take Carpenter out of the game because they were forced to take a timeout for the injury, and they needed that field goal with time winding down to win the game. So they had to take Carpenter out. They obviously don't have a backup kicker. Rex Ryan's going crazy on the sideline. They ended up taking, I believe, a 12 men on the field penalty in order to get Carpenter back for the next play. But, yeah, just a lot of craziness there. I don't know if there is an NFL comparison because the fans are too far removed. I think it would take a streaker onto the field tackling a running back or something.
Yeah, like, so James Cook to the end zone, and then Alex Brasky jumps from the press box and brings him down or something. So,
or maybe fans throwing sex toys onto the field, but that's
snowballs.
That's neither here nor there. But that's going to do it for us. We'd like to thank Forefathers Organics, our sponsor as always, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.